Hello, I'm Milosz Lewiński and you're watching Break the Fake. They make them, we break them, and tell you everything you need to know. As Bashar al-Assad watches his empire of sand and rubble collapse, the Syrian dictator can at least find solace in his Moscow real estate portfolio. 19 luxury apartments worth $40 million, well before the fall. But when you're the architect of your country's ruin, contingency plans are essential. It seems Assad always knew that one day he might trade Damascus for Moscow's dreary skyline, swapping war-torn palaces for high-end condos. A dictator in exile, yes, but with style. Meanwhile, Russia, Assad's ever-loyal sponsor, at least until a point, finds itself in full-blown panic mode. The grand vision of Moscow as the savior of Syria has disintegrated faster than Skabyeva can churn out propaganda. Russian state media now paints Syria as a paradise overrun by barbarian hordes, with the subtlety of a medieval tapestry. Skabyeva's broadcasts would have you believe Damascus was the Versailles of the Middle East, only to be tragically sacked by uncultured rebels. Never mind the fact that Russian bombs were actually the first to reduce parts of it to ashes.
Борт пропадает с радаров в районе Хомса. Самолет, по информации Reuters, разбился, Асад, вероятно, погиб.
Местонахождение Башара Асада окутано тайной, но два высокопоставленных армейских офицера сообщили, что в воскресенье рано утром Асад сел на самолет в Дамаске и направился в неизвестном направлении. По данным сайта Flight Radar, самолет авиакомпании Syrian Air вылетел из аэропорта Дамаска примерно в то время, когда сообщалось о захвате сирийской столицы повстанцами. Самолет изначально летел в сторону прибрежного региона Сирии, оплота алавитской секты Асада, но затем резко развернулся и несколько минут летел в противоположном направлении, прежде чем исчезнуть с карты.
Источник в Кремле опровергает фейк американского Reuters. Асад жив, он в Москве и вместе с семьей получил в России убежище.
Бывший президент Сирии Асад с членами своей семьи прибыл в Москву. Россия, исходя из соображений гуманитарного характера, предоставила им убежище. Россия, как отметил источник, всегда выступала за поиск политического решения в урегулировании сирийского кризиса.
Do you know what the greatest twist of irony is? That the Kremlin has turned to Turkey, a NATO member no less, begging for help to evacuate its beleaguered forces from Syria. The great Russian conqueror is now scuttled away like uninvited guests at a party that's gone terribly, terribly wrong. Turkey, Moscow's supposed adversary, now holds the keys to their escape. It's a fitting end to Putin's Syrian misadventure, from liberators to desperate negotiators pleading for safe passage. This is how Sergei Narishkin, the head of Russia's Foreign Intelligence Service, talks about Syria with his nose in the air.
Каковы оценки разведки? Как может ситуация в Сирии и вокруг Сирии далее развиваться?
Ситуация, понятное дело, непростая. Дело в том, что Сирия сама по себе страна такая, как бы сотканная из многих лоскутов.
The axis of evil, Russia, North Korea and Iran, are clinging together like the last kids picked for dodgeball. Syria has fallen off the roster, leaving Moscow scrambling to maintain its facade of power and influence. Kim Jong-un and Iran's mullahs must be watching nervously, wondering if Putin's promises of support are as hollow as the ruble. The mighty Russian Empire is now a fading shadow. Its allies either fleeing to Moscow's overpriced apartments or cautiously distancing themselves from the Kremlin's sinking ship. Yeah, the Titanic reference quite fitting here. Now, it seems the Kremlin has unlocked the ultimate cheat code for sanctions: a shopping cart and an internet connection. According to Bloomberg's latest exposé, Russian arms manufacturers are happily clicking their way through online stores to buy American-made components for their war machine. Forget spy thrillers or shady back-alley deals. These guys are just checking out semiconductor prices like they're ordering pizza. Need chips for Iskander missiles or glide bombs? No problem, just hop onto Texas Instruments store, select your military-grade shopping list, and voila! Precision targeting tech delivered straight to your missile factory. Of course, the West tried to stop this. sanctions, stern warnings, the whole 9 yards. And yet somehow, the Kremlin's weapons still manage to sparkle with the latest American tech. Russian distributors, some of them already on sanctions lists, have streamlined the process to a level that would make Amazon blush. They have even integrated Texas Instruments' inventory system, so they can check stock and prices before placing an order. Why bother with black markets when you can just click Add to Cart and be done with it? Meanwhile, in Moscow, Putin's propagandists are pondering weightier issues. If Boeing and Airbus beg to return to Russia, and they will, how should we respond? Clearly, the Kremlin's got its priorities straight. Why sweat over international condemnation or Ukrainian lives when you can spend your time debating whether to let Western firms back in after they have, eventually, eaten enough humble pie?
Кроме ВТБ, президента России спросили по поводу того, что вот если западные компании захотят вернуться, мы будем ли на них там обижаться, не будем. Был такой вчера там диалог. А вот если представить, что Boeing и Airbus снова захотят работать в России, а понятно ведь, что в перспективе они, наверное, хотели бы вернуться, мы вот сразу обрадуемся и все им простим, или все-таки по-другому будем выстраивать отношения?
Ну, понимаете, как обижаться, такая, для меня этот термин не очень понятен, я на обиженных воду возят, да? У нас есть отечественная промышленность, которая производит достаточно качественные современные самолеты. Это МС-21, сухой суперджет Нью, Ил-114, Ту-214. Да? У нас есть уже возможность производить самолеты самим. Другое дело, если наша авиакомпания, спрос россиян очень высок, вы сами это видите, мы даже сейчас в этих условиях уходим за 100 миллионов перевозок. Если россияне готовы летать больше, это значит, что у них есть деньги, это благосостояние, значит, потому что всегда определяется мобильность населения в авиации по соотношению к ВВП страны, да, их личный доход.
So, here is to Western sanctions, I guess, a minor inconvenience for Russia's war machine, but a true exercise in futility for everyone else. Now, in Vladivostok, they have apparently replaced logic with lunacy. A march on Washington was held to avenge the grievances of Kursk, Donbas and Belgorod. Naturally, the rally's attendees had a solution straight out of a dystopian satire, aiming Russian nuclear missiles at American cities again, because nothing says global power like a crowd waving poorly spelled signs and shouting into the void, right?
На Вашингтон! Нацелить на Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон!
За армию и флот России!
За всех погибших воинов! За всех убитых детей! За Одессу и Курск! За Донбас и Белгород! За геноцид русского народа!
Мы, жители Дальнего Востока, требуем вернуть полетные задания в наши стратегические ядерные ракеты!
И нацелить на США! На Вашингтон! На Вашингтон! Нацелить на Вашингтон!
This spectacle of collective delusion might be funny if it wasn't a bit disturbing. These are the people who genuinely believe the world quivers at the mere mention of Russia, while the ruble plummets and basic goods vanish from store shelves like they were never there. And all this while their glorious leaders sit in gold-trimmed bunkers, munching caviar and plotting the next absurd propaganda piece. Perhaps someone should remind these marchers that the only march Russia seems to be capable of these days is backwards, into economic ruin and international isolation. Maybe the world doesn't belong to them after all. A quick detour back to the psych ward might help them process all that. Either that, or, looking at what's happening around, like Bashar al-Assad. He believed that Russia would help him out. He believed that Russia was powerful, and look where that got him. Well, that got him to a luxury apartment, but when it comes to being a dictator and having good friends that will not stab you in the back or in the front, well, that didn't really work out. Well, I guess, mess around and find out. And with this, we conclude this edition of Break the Fake. Please stay with us here on TVP World for more latest news and updates.